Chairman, you are free to proceed.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. We are here today for the January meeting of the Rehoboth Beach Board of Adjustment. We're conducting the meeting virtually due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Again, I'd like to thank Max Hanby for his help in producing this virtual meeting, and for Ann Womack, our intrepid city clerk, for getting all the paperwork together. This afternoon, the Board of Adjustment will consider a request for an area variance at 46 Sussex Street. The applicant seeks to install a bay window, which, as designed, would partially encroach into the current rear yard setback. We thank the members of the public who are joining in today. And if any of you have requested time to speak, we ask that you address only the issues before. I mean the legal criteria for area variances, which we will be discussing with you. Please note that we have a court reporter present. For her to do her job, it is important that she be able to hear what each person has to say. So please keep your voices up and no cross conversation during the hearing. Everyone who chooses to speak here this afternoon will be placed under oath. And I'm going to ask our attorney, Mr. Townsend, to administer the oaths as necessary. So with that, let's start working our way through today's agenda. First order of business is the roll call. And I can see from our that Walt Cassell is here, and Barry Brandt is here, and Jan Connessy is here. I'm also here, and that makes 4 of us. I know that Randy Mason is not going to be able to make it. He was hoping to attend, but because of a medical procedure that's taken longer than he anticipated, he's not going to be able to make it. But we do have a quorum with 4 out of our 5 members present. The next item on the agenda is the verification of the meeting and public notice. So, Ann, I'm going to ask you to address what efforts you've made to give the public legal notice of this meeting.
The agenda for the Board of Adjustment regular meeting was posted in City Hall and on the city portal on January 14th, 2021. The agenda notice was sent out from the city portal on January 14th. The public notice for case number 1120-08 for the property located at 46 Sussex Street was posted in City Hall and on the city portal on January 7th, 2021. The public notice was published in the Cape Gazette on January 12th and January 15th, and Delaware State News on January 9th and January 10th. Notification specific to this case was mailed out to property owner addresses within 200 feet of the subject property, and signage was posted on the property. That's all I have, Chairman.
I think that's good enough. I think we're ready to go with this hearing today. Madam Clerk, can I ask you whether you've received any correspondence that the board should be aware of?
I have received none.
Okay. The next order of business then is to approve 2 sets of minutes. We received minutes this morning regarding our September 28th meeting and our December 11th meeting. Now, have we all had a chance to review minutes of those meetings? I know I have.
Yes.
So at that meeting, I was present. Barry, you were there, and Walt, you were also there. So we're the ones who could verify whether those minutes were appropriate. Can I get a motion to approve the September 28th meeting minutes, please?
I'll make that motion, Jerry.
Walt, you want to second that?
I'll second that, Jerry.
Okay. If all those in favor of the minutes being approved signify by saying aye.
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 So Ann is 3 in favor, and there's no votes against the approval of the September 28th minutes. All right, then our next set of minutes were the minutes of the December 11th meeting. And at that meeting, I was present, Barry was there, Jan was there. So Walt, you were not there. So we have 3 members who were present at that meeting. Have you, Barry and Jan, have you had a chance to review those minutes?
I have.
I have not, Jerry. I've been on a conference call since this morning, early this morning. We just got off. So I saw they came in, but I haven't read them.
All right, I'm going to suggest that we push this off to the next meeting then when you've had more of a chance to consider these, because they're kind of lengthy and it was a complicated hearing. So Madam Clerk, if you would please put this back on the agenda for next meeting, okay?
Will do.
All right, I know that you struggled to get this thing done on time, but we had a lot going on here this morning. So we'll reconsider those December 11th minutes at our next meeting. Okay, and that brings us to today's hearing. So we've reached that point where we're going to consider this area variance request for 46 Sussex Street. At the outset, I note that the applicant applied for two variances, a rear yard setback variance and a lot coverage variance. My understanding is that the building inspector has determined that the applicant's proposal does not raise a lot coverage issue. So the only aspect of the application that we need to address this afternoon is the rear yard setback variance. Does anybody disagree with me on that? No. So only one variance we're going to consider, and that is the rear yard setback variance. All right, so are the parties here? Wayne and Cheryl Neal, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, Wayne Neal.
Okay, well, Mr. Neal, it's a pleasure to hear your voice. Is there any way we're going to be able to see Mr. Neal?
I was on the screen moments ago, and I was taken off by you, and I thought you would bring me back.
Well, if it was up to me to bring you back, I definitely would. I'm going to ask Max to see if he can weigh in here.
Mr. Neal, at the lower left-hand corner, you should have a button that says Start Video.
Yeah, I do, actually.
There you are. We found you.
Okay,
All right.
sorry.
That's all right. All right, and who's that? Matt, you're there from the building department. So,
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Matt, why don't you give us your report, please? And I note that we're going to be using the area variance requirements of Delaware law. Let me just go over them quickly so we're all on the same page there. The 4 criteria under Delaware law that we have to use to analyze this application are as follows. 1, the nature of the zone where the property lies. 2, the character and use of the immediate vicinity. 3, whether removal of the restriction on the applicant's property would seriously affect the neighboring properties and their uses. And 4, whether failure to remove the restriction would create exceptional practical difficulty for the owner in relation to his efforts to make normal improvements to the property. So those are the criteria. Okay, Matt, it's up to you now.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon to you, members of the board, and members of the public, and staff, of course. Today before you is case number 1120-08. The location for this case number is 46 Sussex Street. The applicant and owners are Wayne and Cheryl Neal of 405 North Alfred Street in Alexandria, Virginia, 22314. As stated, the applicants seek a variance to permit the construction of an approximate 18.75 square foot bay window that would encroach the rear setback line. The nature of the request, the applicants Wayne and Cheryl Neal are seeking a variance to 270-25 rear yards for the addition of a bay window seat to the rear of an existing 2-story single-family dwelling. Though the addition is being constructed on the left side of the structure, the placement encroaches into the 15-foot rear setback requirement, as the house was built to a previous code and allowed to encroach further than the current 15-foot minimum rear yard requirement. The addition of this structure does not add any coverage to the lot, as the proposed location will be built over existing exterior HVAC units. So essentially the land is already spoken for in coverage. The property is located at 46 Sussex Street under parcel identification number 33414.17, dash 53.00. The lot measures 4,208.86 square feet and is situated in the R1 residential zoning district. In previous submitted documentation for prior work, the existing first floor is listed as 1,349 square feet, and the existing second floor is listed as 686 square feet, for a total of 2,035 square feet. Application background information. The applicant seeks to add to an existing dwelling a bay window seat to the rear of the structure. The bay window is proposed to be constructed such that approximately one half of the addition will encroach a 15-foot rear setback requirement. And the applicant was kind enough to supply that line on sheet A1 of his submitted building plans. It is a darkened line that basically runs almost right through the center of that bay window and gives you an idea of where that 15-foot setback requirement would be. The analysis is as follows. The following analysis is offered based upon the facts as they are presently understood by the Building and Licensing Department. The Building and Licensing Department has not conducted a full review of all the factors to be considered in the determination of a variance application. The nature of the zone where the property lies. The subject site is zoned R1. As a matter of right, single-family dwellings are permitted. Current uses coincide with 270-11R-1 district. Neighboring properties are noted as R1 and R2, with the rear abutting properties being C3 secondary commercial district. All uses are consistent with their lot zoning designation. The character and use of the immediate vicinity. The character of the area is residential, with a small portion of the block being used for educational purposes by the Montessori School. No sidewalks are present, and each dwelling must provide two 9-foot by 18-foot parking spaces located solely within their property boundaries per unit. The street is usually filled with parking, and it is not uncommon for pedestrians to be walking on the street, enjoying the area, and having interactions with their surrounding neighbors. 3, whether removal of the restriction on the applicant's property would seriously affect neighboring properties. The impact is minimal to the surrounding area. Consideration of the allowance of the encroachment to be permitted should be made, accepting that the ordinance currently requires a 15-foot minimum setback. The removal of this requirement should have no immediate or long-lasting effects on any neighboring property. And number 4, whether failure to remove the restriction would create unnecessary hardship or exceptional practical difficulty for the owner in relation to the owner's efforts to make normal improvements to the property. The failure to remove the restriction would not create any unjust hardship, as the structure proposed is being represented as cosmetic in nature. The application indicates that the construction does not qualify as a habitable area according to 2018 IRC, and is seemingly being constructed to add light to the immediate area currently being described as bedroom number 1. I can certainly take any questions at this time.
Well, we're going to, why don't we ask Mr. Neal to make his presentation at this point?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. By way of introduction, let me just say that my name is Wayne Neal. I'm a registered architect.
Mr. Neal,
Yes.
if you could you give us your address for the record, and then I'll administer the oath?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, 46 Sussex Street.
Sir, do you affirm the testimony you give in this proceeding will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
You can continue, please.
My name is Wayne Neal. I'm a registered architect, now retired after about 45 years in practice. 35 years of those, I had my own firm in Old Town, Alexandria, Virginia, where I served on the Board of Architectural Review for approximately 9 years. I also served on the City Hall Design Review Complex for Rehoboth Beach a few years ago, along with Sam Cooper and members of the commission. Proud to say that I have enjoyed living at 46 Sussex Street for approximately 30 years now. After I designed this house, A number of neighbors or people interested came to me and asked if they could buy plans, and so I was happy to sell them to them. And consequently, there are about 24 of these houses scattered in and around
Mhm.
Rehoboth area. It's come to be known as the Half Moon House because of the half circle arch on the second floor. And I was given an award by a luminary, Faye Jacobs, in the community, who gave it that name, but she was quick to add that it was not the Half Moon Little House behind the big house. Um, for those of us who are old enough to remember the Little House. It's also received a House and Garden Award bestowed upon me, my wife and I, mainly my wife, by the city of Rehoboth, and the chair, Jim Ellison, at that time. And then finally, it's been featured in 2 Better Homes and Gardens publications over the years. When I sat down to design the house, I looked at the surroundings and noticed that the rear portion, property line, was on the other side of that. It was zoned commercial. And that caused me some pause because I was afraid that I might end up with a hotel, motel, restaurant, and so forth, something of higher density at the rear of the property. There was already Fran O'Brien's restaurant, and then I think somewhere around that same time, the Zebra Italian restaurant, which came into being. And so I would have no control over what would happen at the rear. So I made the decision. The lot's rather shallow, just 84 feet, as most properties on Sussex and Kent Street are. But I made the decision to push the house towards the rear and open up as much of the side yard and front yard as I possibly could. It's turned out to be a good decision because at the rear, what happened over the years was it became 3 boarding houses. You might know them, Bewitched, Bothered, and Bewildered. And Bewitched, the larger one, has a pool which houses about a dozen or more people every weekend, creating a lot of noise. Now, fortunately, my house turns its back to that. Bothered and Bewildered has 24 guest rooms, and so there are cars coming in and out of that property day and night. And the dining area for that property is a porch that also faces my property, where they serve breakfast and cocktails. So the decision to turn to the side and make the best of the side yard was, in hindsight, a good thing to do. I've done a number of additions over the years, 4 saddlebag dormers. The rear 2 were intended to be 10 feet long. And at the time that I applied for the building permit, I was told that the zoning had changed and that only 8 feet would be permitted. Well, that worked out okay in terms of the plan. And I made the change. The other additions included a side porch entry and a tower foyer addition, all on the side, enhancing the side yard. This, I believe, is the last improvement that I propose to make on the property. It is a bay window that is centered on the first floor master bedroom and looks out into the side yard, as most houses would have rooms that look out into the rear yard. It's important to center it because of the room itself, but also as an architectural composition, it would be centered underneath of the dormer located above. So it has an architectural importance as well to be located there. I actually submitted for a building permit again, and I was informed that the rear yard setback, which had been changed from 6 feet to 10 feet, had now been changed to 15 feet, which created an encroachment that required the variance. So I felt the zoning needs tightening, and perhaps if under the current zoning, I wouldn't have designed the house in the way that I did. But in all in all, I think it was the proper thing to do. And this is the last of the improvements that I'm contemplating at this time. And that's about it. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you. That was a good presentation.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions for either the building inspector or for Mr. Neal? Let me ask you a question, Mr. Neal. So you had a rear window on the property, on that room. Are you going to be removing that window?
Yes, yes, just for the reasons that I cited. Yeah.
Because of the privacy and the noise?
And the noise.
Okay.
Exactly.
And do I take it then that I guess there were well-known, or to you, well-known architectural reasons for symmetry perhaps, or consistency of design that you want to make sure you can incorporate into this building?
Yeah, it's centered underneath of the dormer above on the second floor. So the windows are aligned, in other words.
Okay. So it would be an exceptional practical difficulty if you had to do something other than what you proposed in terms of maintaining your architectural standards.
Composition, that's true. And I cannot push it farther it would be to the north, because it would interfere with the entrance, the side entrance to the house.
Okay. I don't have any other questions. Did that cause anybody else to want to ask a question? No.
I have no questions.
No questions.
All right. Well, it seems to me we're in a position to vote on this then. All right.
There was a public member who was on the line.
All right. Mr. Evans, are you there?
I certainly am.
What would you like to say?
Well, this is
Mr. Evans, name and address, please.
Surely, and I need to be sworn also before I can speak. My address is 512 Newcastle Street in Rehoboth Beach.
Mr. Evans, do you affirm the testimony you give in this proceeding will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I so affirm.
Please continue.
You can either consider this a easy case or an important case, because I've heard no argument made, even with the lead by the chair of the Board of Adjustment, to demonstrate any real hardship or exceptional practical difficulty in this case, because while it's certainly a want on the part of the applicant, it certainly is not a need on the part of the applicant. And I'll make that clear, is because he's asking not for a window, but for a bay window. And the only issue here is that it's a bay window instead of a window that stays in line with the wall. So he has a perfectly reasonable reason that he can follow to have symmetry, have it all be the way you've been talking about, with it being a standard window, and he doesn't need to be here today. And he has not met clause 4. He does not demonstrate exceptional practical difficulty, primarily because of that reason. Also, it has been a longstanding practice of the Board of Adjustment during my tenure, 20 plus years on the board, to not allow the extension of a non-conforming structure, even if it's because the zoning laws have changed. And things do change, that is the problem. But he does have a very simple solution that does not require that he be in the setback with a bay window. And that's all I have to say today.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Evans. All right, is there a motion?
Jerry, could I just ask a confirming question? I thought I understood from the building inspector's testimony that there is an air conditioner directly under where the window will go. So essentially, this window is sitting right on top of an air conditioner. Is that correct? Is that the outside?
There's some distance between the top of the air
Well,
conditioner.
I didn't mean that, I didn't mean this vertically. I just meant when it's sticking out, it's not sticking out onto the side yard setback beyond the air conditioner?
No, it's overlaps slightly. Yeah. What would happen is the condenser unit would lose some efficiency, but in my view, it's not enough to warrant some other idea.
So my understanding from the building inspector's report and from your is that this window is not extending any more into the setback than the air conditioner already is.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, that's what I wanted to confirm. Thank you.
Okay. Now that we've answered that question, is there a motion on the floor? Okay, does somebody want to consider making a motion that would grant the variance?
I would like to make a motion to grant the variance, but I'm reading the building inspector's recommendation and having a hard time whether I would be denying the building inspectors. I want to make a motion to grant the variance based on the applicant's request. But the words of the recommendation are hanging me up, Jerry.
I think that's all you need to do is just say you make a motion to grant the variance as proposed. Fred, you have any, you want to weigh in on that?
Was that a question for me?
Yes, do you?
No, I think we have a motion, and the question is, whether it receives a second, and then, of course, I'll ask all the members are encouraged to give their basis for their vote when the roll call is made.
Okay.
All right, so if you have a motion and you need a second, I'll second.
I'll second it, Jerry.
Okay.
Walt.
Okay, well, Jan was in first, so Barry made the motion, Jan seconded the motion. All those, okay, so we're gonna vote on this motion now, and I'll go first. I vote in favor of the motion. I think that the nature of the zone is a residential zone. I think that this window fits in with the zone. So that's the first criteria. And that's also the second criteria too. It fits in with the character and use of the immediate vicinity. I don't believe that this application would seriously affect the neighboring property at all. So that's in favor of granting the variance. And finally, based upon the testimony of the applicant, I believe that denying this would be an exceptional practical difficulty. The owner said that what he's proposing is in conformance with the accepted architectural principles and would enhance the facade and the use of the house. So I believe that he's met that criteria as well, and I vote to approve the motion. Okay, Barry, you want to vote?
Yeah, yes, I agree with what Jerry has said on the first three steps. The fourth one, and thank you, Mr. Evans, for putting that comment in. It's good to think about. I do believe that, to me, adding more light, and if a bay window adds that much more light, then I am for that. So there is a hardship here. So I'm voting in favor of this variance.
Walt?
Yes, I also agree with Jerry and Barry for the same reasons. It's interesting, this section of the city has properties that have unique challenges with setbacks, given that these lots are less than the standard lot, the 50 by 100s being the 50 by 84, but the same codes apply. I don't see where allowing the variance would adversely affect neighboring properties or their uses. There was no opposition from surrounding neighbors. The applicant also is adhered to the last two setbacks when renovations were completed. In both instances, the setbacks have been increased since the building of their home, limiting options and choices for them. So I'm in support of granting the variance as well as requested. Thank you.
All right, Jan?
Yeah, I also am in support of granting the variance. I don't see any impact on the neighborhood. And I assure you that neighbors in Rehoboth are not shy about voicing their opinion. But I also feel that, he's not really extending the nonconformity in one sense, in that he's building extremely right above an existing air conditioner. And so when I read the building inspector's report, it just seemed to me that this should be an allowable use.
Okay, so your application passes 4-0. Congratulations, Mr. Neal.
Thank you very much, all of you.
Yeah, I love that little house. I actually know people who live in it. I used to live on Sussex Street in the next block up.
Next time you walk by, if I'm on the porch, please stop in.
Yeah, I will. It's on my walk route. So.
Great.
All right, so that concludes that case. Madam Clerk, is there any new business?
There is none.
All right. Is there any other business?
There is none.
Well, let me bring this up. Jan has gave me a call during the week and asked whether we could agree to change the starting time for these meetings, for the virtual meetings, until 1:30 in the afternoon. Is that something that would cause a problem for anybody here?
No.
I'm good.
All right, and I'm good with that too. So Ann, in the future, could we notice these for 1:30? Unless you have a lineup that looks like it might last more than several hours, maybe we could move things up a little bit in those situations. But for a routine meeting, let's start at 1:30 then. Okay?
Okay. That's
All right,
fine.
let me ask you another question. Have we got anything in the queue for next month?
Not at present.
Okay. Well, keep us posted, and we've concluded our business for today. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I have a motion to adjourn.
I'll
Second,
second
all
that.
those in favor?
Aye.
Folks, thank you so much. Have a nice day, and we hope to see you soon. Okay? Take care.
Stay
everybody.
safe, everybody.
All right, bye-bye.
Good
Thank you
afternoon,
all.
all.